Welcome to the Commonwealth Club of California this Thursday morning in early May. Thank you for joining us. We hope you're all staying safe and well wherever you are. We're coming to you from the Toby Family Auditorium at the Commonwealth Club in downtown San Francisco. I'm John Zipper. I'm the Commonwealth Club's Vice President of Media and Editorial, and I'm also pleased to be the co-host of the Michelle Meow Show that takes place here. We used to say weekly, but we've been doing more than weekly recently, and we have another one, in fact, at noon today, Pacific time. The Commonwealth Club is a public forum. We put on 500 programs a year, usually with audiences, of course, right now without audiences. So we're doing these live online. You can find out our upcoming list of programs at commonwealthclub.org/online. We've got a lot of stuff up there, a lot of stuff on the COVID pandemic, as well as a lot of other topics. And we have more programs being added pretty much every day. So we are presenting these free. If you are willing and able, please go ahead and make a donation. You can find that information on our website as well. Now I'm pleased to announce, or introduce, I should say, Michelle Meow. She's the producer and the host of the Michelle Meow Show and a member of the Commonwealth Club's Board of Governors. Michelle,
Thank you so
nice
much,
to see you.
Sean. Thank you. It's so good to be here, and thank you for joining us. Thank you to the Commonwealth Club for providing the platform for us to have these open forums. I'm Michelle Meow, host of the Michelle Meow Show, your A through Z, covering the LGBT, LMNOP, and everyone in between. Our special guest today has over 10 years of experience coaching women's and men's college basketball. Just recently, he was the assistant coach and director of basketball operations at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. And he just came out, actually, very publicly in an opinions piece posted at outsports.com. And I'm just going to read a quote for you, and I think it's the best way to introduce him. "This is a scary time for everyone, and the unknown is always difficult to deal with. But I have made a decision to use this time to become completely open and honest with myself and the people around me. I'm gay." Let's welcome Matt Lynch to the program. Matt, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, does it feel just as good writing it to the world, "I'm gay," than saying it out loud to everyone who's watching this morning?
Yeah, it's been a great month, and everybody's been super positive with me, and it's an exciting time.
Let's take it all the way back, because traditionally we do ask the question of share a coming out story with us, but since that is the entire show for you, we're talking about your coming out.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, let's start with maybe the moment that you knew for yourself and the moment you came out to yourself.
Yeah, I think it was something that I always knew, but tried to hide. Just in growing up, um, everybody goes through their own journey, and everyone's journey takes a different amount of time. And I knew at a young age, but tried to fight it. And through this process, I was naive to think that I could bury something as strong and big in your life as someone's sexual orientation. And eventually, I come to terms with it. I have a great family that supported me, and I did the article and not looking back.
In the article, you do kind of mention kind of starting with one person and then the second person and increasingly enlarging the circle of people who knew. Who was the first person you told or informed, and how did that go, and what were you expecting to happen, and what happened?
The first person outside of my family that I told was one of my best friends. We're still friends today. Her name is Lauren Davis. She works at Tulane University. And she's just somebody that always had my back, always supported me. And it was one of those times, to be honest, to say that I knew that this was going to be easy. I knew how she felt about me, and that I would have her support. And I was relieved to get it off my chest, and it didn't change a thing between her and I.
I wanted to ask, actually, about basketball and the love about basketball before we get
Yeah.
into talking about the different relationships and the culture of sports. I assume every coach out there, he has, they're athletic as well. I don't know what came first, loving to help folks be their best talent, or you as the talent himself? Did you play basketball?
Yeah, so I played growing up, and to be honest, the talent never came. I wasn't necessarily there. I started playing because my dad played, and it's kind of basketball was just something my family always did. And then in time, when it stopped being something I was, encouraged to do or forced to do, it became something that I enjoyed doing. And then I always knew that I didn't work hard enough at it to play at the college level, but I did play in high school. And through actually my high school coach, I kind of talked about it in the article. The relationship that I had with him, he just believed in me so much. And the support that he gave me is kind of what lit the fire for me to get into coaching and kind of pursue that dream, because it's just the relationship side that you can build through sport.
How do you, as a coach, kind of judge your success? I mean, is it number of wins or is it individual, successes of players that you work with?
Yeah, so in the coaching world, it's always judged by wins and losses by the outside. And that's kind of funny because I haven't had a above 500 record in the last 7 years. I mean, the last time I had that was when I was coaching D2 basketball at my alma mater, Edinburgh University. And so, from a wins and loss standpoint, I haven't been successful, so to speak, but I judge it through the relationship pieces. And that's, winning is important. There's two types of coaches in this business: coaches that have been fired and coaches that are going to get fired. And so, you have to find other ways to measure your success. And with me, it just came through the relationships and through the players. It's all with me. It's all about the players. They're not only going to go, out into the workforce and be, future leaders in our society, but it's just the enjoyment that I got working with both the men and the women players that I've had is really what drives me even today.
What's interesting is that you decided to write this and come out. I mean, a lot of folks who are LGBTQ and in sports, it's obviously a personal decision for when you want to come out, and when you do come out, that it's safe to do so. You came out during a pandemic and early spring, which should be the most busiest, wild time for college basketball. So many people sad to see that March Madness was canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I'd love to hear kind of you talk about the experience of coming out during a pandemic. Why you chose it? I think there's a quote in the article that you clearly say you didn't want to die with a lie.
Yeah. So it kind of goes back to, like I said, I've always known that I had this secret. And in time, I've told more and more people. And it kind of got to, it was coming to a head, so to speak, this year. I had this, I'm very close with my family. They're ultra supportive. I'm a product of my environment. They are great. And, it's rubbed off onto me. And so I was on the phone with my parents one night, and we were discussing, when I should make this, or how to make the announcement, just kind of what to do. And we came up with a bunch of different reasons to do it at the start of the year. And then we kind of dialed it back and started to say, well, maybe we should do it at the end of the year. And then kind of through the conversation, I quickly realized that there really is no perfect time. Like I can choose any time that I want. And, someone would give me a reason that it was negative to do it then. And someone would say, oh, you should do it this way or that way. And so I knew that this was going to be my last season in the closet. I didn't know that we were going to have a coaching change and a pandemic, and the world was going to be turned upside down. That really wasn't part of my plan. But the season ended, and we had a coaching change in the middle of the year, and then they promoted a interim assistant, Coach Rob Burke, and he had some success, and we were hopeful that maybe he could win the job. Well, unfortunately, that didn't happen, and we one of the officials that refereed our conference tournament game up in Washington D.C., he tested positive for the coronavirus. And we played that game on a Saturday. He tested positive on a Tuesday. And so on Wednesday, we got a phone call from the athletic director. We were all still on staff at this point, and he kind of said, "Hey, we need you guys to self-quarantine for 14 days." And it was kind of came by shock. Nobody was prepared for it. But the university did a great job of checking in on us. If we needed any food or groceries, anything delivered to our houses, they were more than willing to take care of us. And I ultimately had 14 days in a 700 square foot apartment, and just spent a lot of time thinking. And I've always known that I wanted to use Outsports.com. They're an unbelievable website. They've got unbelievable people working there, specifically Jim Bazinski, who was really the editor of my article. And I've always known that was a resource that I wanted to use to tell my story. So I reached out to Jim, and he kind of gave me some guidelines to write the article. And so I went to work, and the first article took me about 7 hours to write. And when I finished it, I realized it was complete garbage. I hated it. And so I wasn't necessarily supposed to leave my apartment, but I decided to go for a run. I'm a big walker. I love to exercise. And so I went for a run and social distanced and kept my distance away from everybody. And I came back, took a shower, and sat down, and I was like, okay, let me start over. Let me try and write this again and just pretend I didn't even write the first one. And so I spent about 45 minutes, and that article I wrote in 45 minutes was the one that we ended up publishing. And that one just kind of flowed out of me so much easier than the first one. And I just kind of made the decision that I didn't want to be in a situation where I got a call about a job and they wanted me to come and interview. And I just didn't want to be backed into a corner in which I was in the closet again. And, I don't want to come out with this secret because I'm afraid that so-and-so might judge me and then I might not get a job. And I just wanted to put it out there. I wanted it to be known. I wanted to be authentic. And I wanted the next coach, whoever does hopefully offer me an opportunity, I wanted the honesty and the truth to be there. And I really felt like I was just playing with house money. I didn't have anything to lose. I didn't have a team or a job to lose, or I didn't have players or parents or anybody that could feel a certain type of way. I was a free agent, so to speak, and I just wanted to roll the dice and kind of bet on myself.
Jim Bazinski at Outsports.com did a follow-up article, I think it was yesterday. And in it, he checked in with you again, and you were saying what has happened since then. And what I was particularly interested in was the day of. So the day that this actually appears in Outsports.com, you went for a drive, right?
Yeah, I drove from. We were done with self-quarantine by then. And I was coming back up to Pennsylvania to my parents' house, and I wanted to be there for the Easter holiday. And I'm actually still here now, going to stay through Mother's Day. And so I just knew that it kind of ended up being perfect timing. And I wanted I was happy that the article was coming out on that Friday for multiple reasons, but one of which I was going to be in the car for a 12-hour drive, and the adrenaline just kind of helped me push through.
Matt, you mentioned earlier, being a good coach and what makes a good coach. And you talked about how important the relationships are, and I'm hearing you talk about the importance of being authentic, and that's obviously important in relationships. Tell us a little bit more about, the people that you started to come out to, the responses from some of the players, maybe, and maybe some of the people that you were most afraid of knowing, that you're a gay man, and if they have responded to you as well.
Right. So probably the first major person that I told was one of our assistant coaches. His name is Coach Rob Burke, and he is the coach in the article that I kind of tell a little story about. And to me, that sums up who he is. And just to kind of put that into perspective, Coach Burke was hired alongside with me, and we worked in a separate office, kind of opposite the coaching staff. And when he was hired as the director of ops. My first position, my first year, was video coordinator. And we had this very unique office that was underneath the stairwell in our arena. And so we referred to it as the dungeon. You know, it was dark. There was no windows. There's one way in and out. And we both value the relationships with the players. It's all about them. And so we just did some things to kind of create a player-friendly environment. We added an Apple TV. We got a fridge. We always had food. We'd get the music going, and it really was, you know, from the hours of 9 to 5, that place would be a party. The dungeon was popping all the time. So him and I, we just built this strong relationship. That first year, his family didn't move from his previous job, Wilmington, yet, and so he called it his sabbatical. He was living his sabbatical year away from his wife and kids. And so with me being single, we'd work all hours of the night, and we just really built a great relationship. And so, you know, if there was any coach on staff that probably had an idea, you know, that I was gay, it was Coach Burke. And that was mainly because we would go out socially, whether it was to the bar or with other athletic department staff. And there would be situations, you know, that would put me around females. And he would just notice that I would really never pursue it. But this past year, I wanted to tell him. And so we've gone for, you know, post-work beers, you know, hundreds and hundreds of times. And so I told him, hey, I want to go get a beer, and I want to tell you a story, and I got something I really need to get off my chest. And so he said, great, let's do it. And so we had a couple beers, and we were watching football and, you know, snacking on some chips. And eventually I kind of mustered up the courage. I had written this note on my phone, and the note pretty much explained that I was gay in a very, very elaborate way. It was, you know, over the top. And I still sometimes couldn't even bring myself to say the words. And so I had a couple beers and got a little bit of liquid courage in me. And I pulled the phone out, and I was like, you know, Burke, need you to read this. And I slid it across the table to him. And so he starts to read it. And as he's reading it, he's smiling and he's smiling. And, you know, he's nodding his head and shaking his head. And eventually he gets up and he comes over and he gives me a big hug. And I got to pause the story real quick. Now, what you need to know about Coach Burke is he knows everything. At least he'll tell you that. He's never been wrong. He's got all the answers. You know, he's locked in all the time. And so he knew that I was gay. You know, he's known forever, all this stuff. And so he gives me this big hug, and then he turns and he smacks me on the butt, and then he starts laughing. And I kind of like look at him, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, you know, you probably like that, don't you? And I'm like, Burke. And he's like, what? And he's like, you do? Like, I'm just giving you what you want. And I'm like, no, Burke, I don't like you. And, you know, we had this morning ritual where we'd go work out in the morning with our strength coach, Ben Fleming. And then we'd go back to the staff locker room. We'd take a shower and go down to the dungeon. We'd get the day started. And so he was quick to tell me, he's like, hey, we can still work out in the morning, but like when it comes time to shower, like I don't want you looking over here at this 232 body. Like this ain't for you. And like he's just a giant goofball. And with him being so goofy about it and just so open to it, it instantly just gave me confidence that I could just be myself around him. And that exchange between him and I really, it kind of propelled me through the year. I told more and more players, friends, family, you know, all of that as the year went on. And it's really, it's unique because just like you guys asked, everybody asked like, oh, how did the players deal with it? Or what do the players think? And to be honest with you, the players are the most receptive. The players are, they're younger, and as they have grown up, being gay, being lesbian, being bi, transgender, anything, has become more and more common, as we know. And so, with those players, as they've grown up, it's been more and more common. They're more and more exposed to it, and through that situation, it's not as big of a deal. It's definitely, I catch people by surprise. Apparently, I don't give off that vibe or anything like that. And so I guess you can't necessarily see it as if you can see someone's sexuality to begin with. But they've been very receptive to it. They they love me for being me. We're all still brothers, and I'm constantly hearing from them even now during the pandemic, and they check in on me and still have my back, and I have theirs, and we love each other.
We have a question from our viewers, and they ask, did you have a religious upbringing, and did that affect either your views about yourself or acceptance of yourself, either positively or negatively?
Yeah, I was raised in the Catholic Church, and I went to Catholic school growing up. And to be honest, I was always around good people. The Bible is often left open for interpretation, and I've never really been a fan of that. Like, I like to, if I'm going to read something, I'm going to read it and I want to make a decision on it myself. Because there's multiple contradicting messages in there. But I've kind of, from a faith standpoint, I kind of live my life on treat people the right way, do things the right way, and treat people how you wanted to be treated. And there was never any moments, growing up where I had the church in the back of my head as I was living a sinful life or anything like that. I am who I am. I was made this way. It's not a choice, and I was created for a reason, and I'm just kind of trying to live my life to the best of my ability.
Mhm.
It's interesting you say, the players and college sports, more and more lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, folks are coming out. So it might be a difference in opinion of how you feel about LGBTQ people in sports. But in professional sports such as the NBA, NFL, that all still is being worked out. I think it's still a pretty homophobic environment in a lot of ways. I mean, personal opinion, but I mean, not a lot of LGBTQ people in those professional settings are coming out. Do you think that that's also a generational thing, and that there could be a complete shift soon?
Yeah, so that's why I think outsports.com is such a great site, because they they publicize that. And so there has been, athletes that have come out, Robbie Rogers, Michael Sam, Scott France. He is a football player at Kansas State. And I actually kind of have a unique connection to Scott, as in I coached Scott's brother Brett when I was at Youngstown State. And so Scott was one of the first to come out at a Power 5 school as an out gay male in college football. And it was just, I still remember the day that Brett came into my office and told me. And he, it's becoming more and more normal. And I think it's so important that people like myself tell their story to help normalize it, because one day, hopefully, this will be something that, is just, people don't have to come out as straight. And, it's just, we shouldn't have to make announcements or write, lengthy articles on outsports.com. I'm not trying to put them out of business, but like, I look forward to the day that it's just, you see a person for a person and not whom they want to put their head down next to at night.
I think it is one of the most awkward things on this program, at least, because I started out telling you it's tradition here on the program that we share a coming out story. And so sometimes we'll ask a straight person, share with us a coming out story, however however that connects with you. And so it's always like a chuckle, because most of the heterosexual people who come on the program are allies anyway. But you're
Right.
super right. I love that quote where it's not, it's about eliminating the need to come out. And that's why we still share these stories. John.
Well, you've said, and it might have been in Jim Basinski's follow-up article, I'm not sure, but you said you heard from folks, including some folks in the NBA, and talk a bit about what you heard and why it's important that people who, we have the straight allies and others who will, welcome people when they make reveal something about themselves like this.
Yeah, I've heard from coaches at every level: high school, college, the NBA, the WNBA, and it's been great. It's been unbelievable the amount of people that reach out and just say that they can relate to my story. That if they were to write, a coming out article, they feel like it would go word for word what is written in my own. And just, it's been amazing for me to hear from those guys in the NBA and in the G League, and just know that, there's more people like you out there. There's people, it's possible to do this. Now, a lot of these, if not all of the people that reached out to me are still in the closet. And I think it's their journey, for them to come out in any way, shape, or form that they want to do. But it kind of relates back to what I was just saying of, we need to try and normalize this. And if people just stay in the closet, and hey, it took me 29 years to come out. And so, we need to tell our stories, and we need to connect with people, and we need to, I kind of said in my article, I didn't have a specific role model coming up. And so I never really thought of myself as a pioneer or a trailblazer, so to speak. But, if I can inspire or, help one other male, female, transgender person go through what I went through in an easier way, I think that me telling my story was worth it. And so I hope that those college and NBA coaches that have reached out can find a way to tell their story. And I just try and be a resource for them, and, just be I'm an ear to listen always.
I was hoping that you would add to that by saying that all these folks have reached out to you, and you're happy to announce that when we can go and see college basketball again, or maybe even a WNBA game, that you are the new coach of X team.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I've got a couple, eggs in different baskets. Nothing for you yet, but it's kind of funny. There was I haven't even shared this part. Like, when I originally put out the article, I wasn't sure if it was how it was going to be received. And so I was fully prepared to step away from coaching. And, I've always had this obsession with Tampa, Florida. I don't know why. I think I've been to Tampa one time. I've loved Tampa. It's, the Gulf of Tampa and, the warm weather. I mean, Florida being Florida, I've just always loved it. And so I started to apply for jobs down there. And I went and I probably applied for 30, 40 jobs. And I was serious about it for about a week. And then, I just started to think about basketball again, and coaching, and hearing from my players, and talking with other, coworkers in the profession. And it's just who I am. It's not something I can step away from. It's just like, it's part of me. I'm happier in a gym. I did say in one of the articles in Outsports, like, I've never worked a day in my life. I can't believe that they pay me to go in there and just, I feel like I'm hanging out and having a good time. But, I definitely value the relationships I'm building with everybody. And it's in my future one way or another. I'll land something, and, I'm looking forward to it.
In I think your original article, you mentioned, yes, you enjoy the work, but that you actually did work a lot, and you became really good at your job, partly because you were the one who was staying late and who was, not going out carousing or whatever. Now that you're out, are you slacking off and you're just going to become a lazy coach?
No, not at all. It's like, it's not going to change. I am definitely going stir crazy, as I think everybody is in quarantine. I have picked up, I'm trying to read more and kind of keep that mental edge going since there's not a lot that, you can do. But I'm doing that and I'm walking a lot. I'm walking like, 8-10 miles a day, just listening to podcasts or, books on tape or anything like that. But no, I think I'm as hungry as ever for this because now that I've put this out there, I almost feel I kind of have this internal motivation that like, okay, Matt, you said you wanted to be this role model and you better be freaking good at this because like people are going to be looking at you and you can't fail. So it's there's a lot of motivation to find a way to one, land a job and then succeed, continue to climb the ladder and show people that there's you can be gay in sport.
I think a lot of us are even asking ourselves and asking our colleagues, so what happens next? What's going to happen to us? I'm curious to know what kind of thoughts you're having about the future of basketball, sports, and especially the opportunity to come to a game. If you've had any internal conversations with other folks in the league, or the people in college basketball and kind of what they think, like what might change about it.
Yeah, so I've also used this time to research the NBA and learn a lot about the NBA. And so I've kind of heard a similar message between both groups. And it just sounds like the summer is going to be off limits. The juice isn't worth the squeeze, so to speak, as far as bringing everybody back too soon. And so I know for a fact, North Carolina Wilmington has, only online summer courses. Like there will be no in-person classes. But like in the state of North Carolina, the state system has committed to, having in-person fall classes, and they've come out and said that. Now, obviously, nobody can predict the future, but I know that the NBA is trying to come up with ways to continue the season, and I think it's really important that they do. But obviously, the players' health and the coaches' health and everyone's health is at the forefront of everything. And it's a logistical nightmare. The WNBA, so to speak, is they're still an up and coming league and don't always get the attention that I think that they deserve. I mean, those are the best women players in the world, and it's important that league continues on. They've got some good momentum, and they need that season to continue building that brand that they have. I actually got on the phone yesterday with Coach Kurt Miller of the Connecticut Sun, and we talked for a long time. And he just kind of expressed that they're trying to figure out ways to keep the season on and figure all that out. But it's just a logistical nightmare, and I don't know what's going to happen. If that tells me that they're going to have to postpone the WNBA season and more than likely cancel the NBA season, but I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah. I had this vision that is it possible for basketball players to play in hazmat suits or face shields and latex gloves? I guess at that point, yeah, you might as well cancel the season and hope for the best in our health. John.
Kind of a different direction from that. Someone in the audience asks, is coaching in the NBA a goal of yours, one of your aspirations, or do you prefer college level?
You would think both NBA and college is, similar, and there's definitely a lot of similarities to it, but they're two different complete worlds. And so that's why part of my quarantine project, has been to just learn about the NBA. And because I know nothing of the, Players Association and the cap space and all of that stuff. And so I've just been trying to learn as much as I can. And, I just know I want to be in basketball. If the right opportunity comes in the NBA, I'll absolutely pursue it. And if the right opportunity comes at the college level, I'll definitely pursue it. I could see myself probably doing a little bit of both. Obviously I wouldn't be bouncing back and forth year to year, but I could see myself going into the NBA for a few years and maybe trying to come back to the college level or continuing in the college level as I continue to learn about the NBA and, go there. I mean, it's with me, it's about this next one is about finding the right fit. I need to find a coach that is going to support me and my lifestyle, and also allow me to be a advocate for the gay community and help me kind of normalize this.
That's interesting. We've had Katie Sowers on our program here, and she's
Yep.
out 49ers assistant coach. And it was kind of great to see at the Super Bowl that she was getting a lot of national attention as the first out, coach to be in the Super Bowl. But going along with what we were just talking about, I know, okay, I don't know coaching well, but I know different coaches and assistant coaches have different responsibilities. Is there one of those positions that you enjoy the most, or that really, fits with your conception of how you see yourself being able to really have an impact, or are they all you want to have them? You want to do them all sooner or later? I mean, how does that work with you?
Yeah, it's funny because even in the article I talk about, I would just go to work and work and work and not worry about being gay or go on dates and being in a relationship. And everything I think I do, revolves around that word, relationships. And with me, I think my greatest strength is my ability to form relationships with our guys. It does help. I'm 29 and I'm close enough in their age, and I look like I'm 12, and so they relate to me. And I have a master's degree in sports psychology that I got from the university, or from Miami, Ohio University. And it just taught me so much. It wasn't something I was really planning on going after, but one of my mentors, Colleen Day, really encouraged me to do that. And it helped me look at coaching and look at players in a completely different way. I mean, this past year we had a young man on our team, and he was a junior college kid, came in, and I got to know him. And he would take his heart out and he'd put it on the floor for you. I mean, he would just play so hard all the time. And like the analogy I used with him is he would get so frustrated that I think of like a cup of water. And like in coaching, you want to pour into your players and with knowledge. And so in order to hit this particular player, you would almost have to like go down the bench, sit down next to him, and be like, okay, talk to me. And he would vomit out the mouth frustration for about 3 straight minutes. And I would just sit there and nod and listen, and yep, okay, got it. And I just had to let him get that out because his cup was so full, it was overflowing, that like in order for me to coach him, I had to empty some of that water so that I could pour back into him. And so just kind of like learning that type of stuff has really allowed me. I mean, he'll tell you to this day that I was the reason he was able to make it through this year. And, just those relationships is really what drives me. And so any job that I take, I want to be able to recruit. I want to, if I'm in the NBA, I want to be working with the players and I love being a part of a team. I think I cannot remember a year in my life that I wasn't a part of a team. And so that's just really important for me to continue.
Well, if you transition into being life coach or being a life coach, I need one. You sound like an amazing, incredible coach, and I had no idea that it gets that deep. I always thought like it was like, here's a play, let me help you figure this out and support you. Matt, what about the LGBTQ community's response? Has Ellen DeGeneres sent you a toaster yet? Like, welcome to the family?
No, and I'm waiting on it. Like I'm ready to go. But no, she has not. But the community itself has been amazing. I kind of tried to talk about that in my follow-up article. Is just when you're coming out, you rely on your circle, your group. And I was counting on them to have my back and be supportive. I was not ready for the outpouring that came from the gay community of complete strangers, people I've never met. And within that, it was it was tough to read some of their stories that they would send me. And somebody would say, "Hey, I'm 55 and I have a wife and 3 kids, and I am going to die with the lie, and I am, I can't come out, and thank you for doing it, and you'll be so happy." And your heart breaks for those people. And I took the time to read every email, and there really was hundreds of them, and tried to respond to everyone and just let them know that I saw their story and I understand, and just kind of like continue the conversation. It's been weird, and I've learned in this process that like some people would email me and have ulterior motives, and so it's been interesting to kind of like thread through all those. But in doing it, I got to meet and talk with a lot of genuine people, and that's has really been hopeful and inspiring, and it's just something I look forward to. I mean, I love every time that Jim wants to put out an article, because at the bottom he puts my contact information or my social media, and it allows more people to like find me and reach out and just continue the conversation of trying to normalize this.
While we're there, why don't you give people your Twitter handle so they can follow you?
Yeah, at Lynch, LYNCH 5_, and it's the same for Twitter and Instagram. I do have Facebook, but I'm not good with the Facebook. I because Jim asked me to, and there's a couple great resource groups on there that I've really enjoyed being a part of, but Facebook can get overwhelming quick. So I just kind of usually operate with Twitter and Instagram.
You mentioned there were some folks who wrote you and they had ulterior motives. What do you mean by that?
I guess to start, like maybe like people interested in pursuing a relationship or getting to know me in more romantic level. That was, that's, as somebody, I've never been on an official date. I've gone on a couple, whether it was like a dating app date or something like that, but not like, not an official. I'm not trying to like hide part of my life and don't want you to figure out what I do and all that. And so that part of being gay is completely foreign to me. And, just interesting to talk with some people that were interested in me in really that way, whether they were close to my age, younger than me, older than me, all of, that delicate dance, so to speak. And it's an ongoing thing. I got a lot of experience. I can coach you guys how to guard a ball screen, every day of the week. But going on a date is something new. And when this quarantine ends, I'll get a little bit more practice at it.
I did wonder, coming out during quarantine or pandemic, how would dating go? Is that an all virtual experience, or I guess you're kind of swimming through it and not necessarily throwing yourself in the dating pool, but being very
right.
cautious a little bit.
It's been interesting, and like everyone's like, couple of my guys, I would always ask them about their girlfriends and their relationships, because at the end of the day, at the college level, like players are going to listen to their significant other more than they're going to listen to their coaches. And so I've had to learn that, like, if I want to try and reach a certain player, I need to get to know his girlfriend. And I kind of would dub all girlfriends baby girl. I gotta, when are you gonna bring baby girl by the office? I need to meet baby girl. How's baby girl doing? What's going on with baby girl? And so it's been funny to see how my players have now taken that, twisted around, and now they'll call me and, hey Matt, how's baby boy doing? Like, what's baby boy up to? Or what's going on? But everybody's like, hey, do you have this great weight off of your shoulders, and like, have you met anybody? And I'm like, no, I've moved home, so to speak, and the only people I've seen for the last 8 weeks has been my mom, dad, brother, and sister. And so like, it's everybody that's seen me was aware that I was gay, and it's been interesting. But when quarantine ends, and hopefully that's soon, I'll kind of experience the life a little bit more and get more experience.
Oh man.
Now, your brother is also a college basketball coach. Is that correct?
He is now in the high school level.
Okay.
He used to coach at college basketball, women's basketball at Edinburgh University, but now he's coaching high school basketball at Cathedral Prep, and it's kind of it's a family affair. My dad is his assistant, and mom and sister are biggest supporters. And I send him texts before the game and check in on him, and he's my best friend without a doubt. And he's doing a great job with them.
I wanted to ask. It sounds like you're just coming out and getting into gay life, gay culture. Have you ever been to a pride parade?
I have not. It's never really crossed my mind, but definitely interested. To be honest, I need to learn more. I need to spend some time getting cultured, so to speak. Like I said, I've taken up reading. And so I had read Robbie Rogers' book, Coming Out to Play, and I had read it before, but I went back and reread it and really enjoyed that. One of the people that contacted me through Facebook and another person via email had brought up the book, Call Me By Your Name. And I had seen the movie, but never read the book. And so I got the book out and read it and really enjoyed that too. So I'm trying to spend some time and learn more and more about, the gay culture and kind of the history, so to speak, and just educate myself.
What about music? Music's always a good indicator of how much, gay culture you're in, or do you have favorite artists or favorite types of music?
Yeah, definitely. That side of my life is really important too. I love music. Music is probably the thing in my life, the only thing I love more than basketball. It just growing up in basketball, definitely hip hop is my favorite. I love J. Cole. Everybody that knows me knows that I love J. Cole. I love Mac Miller, Drake. Gotta love Drake. But I really enjoy all types of music other than country. I've never really gotten into country. That's not really been my thing. But my dad, I feel like my dad has great taste in music and loves disco and Kool and the Gang and Michael Jackson and all that stuff. And so I listened to that growing up and still love it now. And, music has the ability to transport you. And just kind of funny, as the article was going to come out originally, my favorite artist is J. Cole, and my favorite song by him is called Love Yours. And he has the whole song is based upon, loving your life. And I put up an Instagram post with captions from it. But there's a phrase in there, there's beauty in the struggle. And I have a chain on, a gold chain with beauty in the struggle engraved on it. And it's something I just kind of live my life by. And you have to enjoy the journey. You have to enjoy the process. You have to enjoy the good moments and the bad moments. And, if you look at it, you can see beauty in the struggle and you can see the positives and the negatives. And kind of that in itself that song helped drive me to write the article and come out and, be my authentic self. And I'm weird with my music and my rituals and everything. And so as I was driving back to Pennsylvania and the article was about to come out, Jim told me, I asked him what time. He's like, the article's coming out at 8 a.m. And I'm like, okay, got it. And so at 7:58 a.m. I was already getting in the car. I put Love Yours on and I wanted that to be the song I was listening to when the article came out. And it's just, music does, it's amazing, and it can transport you to different moments. It's, it can make you laugh, smile, be happy, cry. I mean, it's one of the best things in my life.
Yeah, I was just going to follow up to that, checking up on your gaydar, I guess, and there's so many stereotypes. And the funny thing is, just like you said earlier, it's not like, You could tell somebody's sexuality just by looking at them. So thank you for normalizing us as LGBTQ people. Well, you came out. You came out to the world. You wrote this opinions piece. It came out to your team, and that seemed like it was like a big secret. But here on the program, I feel like you can share other secrets. What's another secret about you that you have not shared with someone else? And it could be maybe a hobby that like maybe in your free time you like to sew. That's okay.
Yeah. I am like, I had that one big secret, but other than that, I was a pretty open book. And I would get so good at hiding that I'd feel like I'd have to deflect and tell you something else. But I mean, just to stick with music, like definitely a big Bieber guy, like Justin Bieber, all about it. Like
No.
he's got great. The album that he just put out, Changes, like he is so in love. I hope one day I am half as in love as what he is, because every one of those songs, it's just like you can feel how much he loves his wife through that. But no, I just.
All right, I'm ending the program. You and my wife can go chit chat about Justin Bieber now.
Yeah, love to.
John.
Okay, well, outside of music, who are some of the other people who've inspired you in your life, or who've been your heroes?
I would start. You got to start at home with me, with my mom and dad. They just. I use the phrase often. I am a product of my environment, and just between the two of them, I feel like I've stole the best qualities from both of them. And my dad he's such a hard worker. He's worked for the same business for quite a while, and happy to say that was able to sell it, and he's going to retire at the end of this year. But there's moments in my life with him. There was a tough family moment where my uncle had an accident and was paralyzed from the neck down, and the doctors said that he was never going to walk again. And I remember being younger, and I would go with him to the hospital. And every day my dad would, pull the hospital bed sheets back, and he would stretch, my uncle's legs, and he'd do exercises with their legs. And, he'd kind of do arm circles with his arms, and he'd make sure every joint was moving. And he would do it day after day after day, and just go in there and kind of work my uncle out, so to speak. And he was not going to give up on him. And that was really, really inspiring to see at a young age. And then on the other end, my mom is just the most loving, caring person I've ever met. I give her a hard time, and I say that she's persistent. She is. When she puts her mind to something, she does it. And she doesn't care if she needs your help, or if it's something that you want to do. But like when she sets her mind to it, she's going to achieve that goal. And like I say it all the time, like I am my mother's son. Like I get that from her drive. And, she moved out of the house at a young age, and she was working 2-3 jobs to support herself, but she wasn't going to give up on that. And that they both just have inspired me. And I'm so blessed because they've accepted me as who I am. And, they have really, everything I've accomplished, I owe to them. And then obviously my brother and sister have played huge roles in my life as well. If I was to look outside of my family, I'm really inspired. This is a new one by Coach Kurt Miller with the Connecticut Sun. Like I said, I talked with him yesterday in the WNBA, and just he told me his story yesterday, and he's been able to accomplish what I want to do. He's been successful in his sport. Now his sport has been women's basketball, and that's not a knock on him. I mean, I think he can coach men, women, whatever. It wouldn't matter. And he'd find a way. He's got the drive to be successful. And I learned so much just in that hour conversation I had with him yesterday. And, I want to be able to drive and be successful the way that he's been in the men's game, and kind of be an advocate for other people like myself. And so I've been really blessed to be around great people, and that's key to anyone's success.
As we wind down, Matt, I'd love to hear your thoughts about, because I think you are the future of LGBTQ in sports, and that is our hope, that there is no closet, to have to come out of. But what are your thoughts on what some things sports culture could do, even policy wise, to make it safer for LGBTQ people in sports to be themselves?
I think if you really want to educate people, it needs to start at a younger age. I think it needs to, for example, sex education. They teach sex education in high school, but they only teach it, male to female, female to male. And I think if you were to start to educate people younger, that would really make a difference. And then it's going to sound like a cop out answer, but just like the more people that continue to come out, the more people that go to outsports.com and email Jim and write their story will help normalize it. Because, I, even in my own experience of coming out, I had plenty of players, reach out to me, players that I haven't talked to in years. And one specific reached out and he apologized for saying, the word gay or homophobic slurs or whatever. And he's like, hey, I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't offend you. He's like, we used to just kind of laugh that off. And I think by him now knowing that I'm gay, it normalized it. And now he doesn't look at it as, oh, that's a gay person or it's a lesbian or a bi, tri, whatever. It's now they look at it like, oh, well, that's Matt. If I'm going to make a homophobic slur like that would hurt Matt. And so in doing that, it's normalized it. And I think as soon as people, I'm learning this quickly, that when people get to know someone in their life that is in the LGBTQ community, it changes their perspective really, really quick. It's no longer like, such an issue because now it hits closer to home. And so, try and normalize it. Be an advocate, read. I talked to a class from Ole Miss, and one of the students kind of asked, what can we do to help? And I said, it's as simple as when Outsports puts out an article, we all have social media, retweet it, like read it and retweet it, read it and post it to your story on Instagram. Even if it doesn't hit home with you, even if it's about someone in soccer and you're a baseball guy, just by you taking that article and spreading it amongst your group, you don't know who in your group will see that article, and it'll mean something to that person. It'll benefit them. It'll show them that there's people out there and that, the acceptance is growing. And so just share the link to the stories and help promote, knowledge and defeat ignorance.
What about anti-LGBTQ discrimination rules on the court? Are those, is there such a thing, or are there rules on the court for anti-hate?
It's kind of an untapped area, I would say. There's not a ton of, to be honest, this, coaching 10 years, I can't ever say outside of the women's game. In the men's game, I can't say like I ever knew if I was going up against someone in the LGBTQ community. I'm sure because they were closeted. And so I don't know specifically that there's rules, but there's been plenty of times that, like I said, that I've heard, oh, don't do that, that's gay, or something like that, come out of even one of my own guys' mouths. But I think that is already going to change now that I've come out and told my story. And I can definitely understand how that could be a fear for someone to come out, but I hope that we can move past that in time.
Absolutely. John?
I mean, what about just basic, NCAA rules on hiring, staff and such like that? Are there any anti-discrimination laws that you know of there, or rules?
I know that, as people post jobs, in a lot, especially in colleges and universities, there are, those laws are in place.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting kind of dance for me, even as I'm applying for these jobs, because I say I want to be authentic, but I'm not always sure how to go about bringing that up. And I actually had one of my mentors say to me, like, Matt, when you apply for jobs, they ask you for your name and your birthday, your address, your, even your ethnic background. He's like, but is there any box in there that you check that is, straight, gay, bi, et cetera? And I'm like, no. And they were like, okay, well then you need to, you've put that out there. You need to not discriminate against yourself. That's not something that you need to go throw at them in the first conversation. They have Google, they can type your name in, and like they can do their own research. Absolutely, when and if the time comes up, I'll bring it up. And I'm not trying to hide it at all, but it's going to be interesting. I'm going to have to find someone with a forward mindset that is going to be open to, like I said, my lifestyle.
Well, I think you're doing an admirable thing. You're changing the sports culture as you're being your authentic self. Thank you so much for joining us here on the program and for sharing a piece of your life.
I really, really enjoyed it, and I appreciate you guys having me. And go check out Sports and pass the articles along to friends.
And what should we tell our viewers to hit you up, but like without an ulterior motive?
Yeah, I mean, if the right one hits me up, then but no, I need a little time. But definitely, I definitely want to say too, like I'm here to help anybody that's struggling, going through what I've gone through, whether you're in sport, out of sports. If you check out those articles, my email's there, and I'd love to hear and talk to anybody and, help in any way I can.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for getting all dressed up, even though you're in quarantine, or not quarantine, but sheltering at home. We appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to look good to play good. So.
And thank you all for joining us. This program will, of course, also be archived on our website at commonwealthclub.org, and we'll be podcasting it. So, and you can find out more of our upcoming free online programs at commonwealthclub.org/online. Thank you, everybody. Have a good week.